on.
Donald J. Trump.
Who is it, JD Vance?
All right. I was expecting a different answer from you. I think most people would say President Trump is the head of the Republican Party, Tiffany. Okay.
That's why I want to know what you're asking.
No, but I want to know what you think the head of the Republican Party.
You said it as a
I
question.
think it's President Trump,
Okay.
but I want to know why you're asking that. So I'm putting it with a
the leader of the
question mark.
Democratic Party is very obvious.
All right. All right. Well, apparently Tiffany's running for office soon because she doesn't want to answer a question directly. Okay. So I agree. Trump is likely, the head of the Republican Party.
He got the mandate of the people.
The question, though, is who is the head of the Democrat Party? Chris, is it Chuck Schumer?
Not this week.
Yeah, not this week. Yeah, he's had a rough week, Chuck. I mean, he's down in the dumps right now. He's making a lot of media appearances and canceling book tours, actually. I don't know. He's having a rough time. He is the Senate Minority Leader, so you would think in this time. One point I was going to make in the last segment, but I was just so interested in listening to all you that I didn't make is that, Republicans have control, we all know this, of the executive branch of a Congress. The judicial system is the only way they can actually go against whatever the Republicans are doing, the Democrats. So, yeah, Schumer is not doing well, and people in his own party are saying that. I want to play a clip just before we get into the reason why everyone's going out against him, of him in the media recently for some other reasons. Play the first clip.
You know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes.
I know, right?
Yeah.
These
So
crazy.
Chuck Schumer is saying that you're greedy if you want to keep the money that your business makes.
Yeah.
As a businessman, I take issue with that, and many others do. But this was actually on the Apology Justify What I'm Doing tour that this clip came out.
And a lot of Republicans were saying, well, we'll use this in the midterms, rubbing their hands together.
Waiting on this clip. This clip and also the clip of him talking about immigration and how there has to be a legal process. Those two clips are going to come out in midterms. But they might come out in the Democratic primary. So you have a number of Democrats who are kind of jumping ship on Schumer because of the passage of the CR. Chuck Schumer was in favor. He wasn't alone. There were 9 other Democrats that joined him, including Kirsten Gillibrand from New York as well.
And the argument was fair, which he basically said, look, Trump would probably want a government shutdown.
Yes, and by the way,
which he would. I went over the president gets additional powers. Trump would have steamrolled it had he gotten that.
Yes, and he's saying a lot of things. So he says, yes, Trump would have wanted a government shutdown. Also, the Democrats kind of positioned themselves in the previous administration of being like the people against government shutdowns because we have to take care of our government. We can't just shut it down. It's not an effective way. And now a lot of Democrats were saying, no, we should have shut it down.
That would have been awkward with the whole Doge thing.
Yes, correct. So when it comes to the reasons why they're angry and the media appearances that they've been making and all of this, you have a couple of people from the House, none in the Senate so far, who are now calling for Schumer to step down, which is very interesting, actually. AOC came out first. She didn't call him to shut down, but she did kind of say that this is not on brand, not good. Who did say that they wanted him to go was Ramirez from Illinois and Glenn Ivey of Maryland. I thought that was pretty interesting, those two. You don't really hear them in the news much. And then Nancy Pelosi has the famous quote of the week.
I myself don't give away anything for nothing.
And that's kind of the argument from other Democrats and also people in the House that Schumer should have negotiated. He should have done something, get some points for the Democrats, and then moved ahead, and everyone would have voted.
Well, yeah, that's like I agree with that.
Yeah.
If I was a Democrat thinking about this like pure ideologically, like for sure, like he basically just folded without getting any concessions. He's just like,
well, here's what he's saying. So right now, here's some interesting information. Do you know what the favorability rate is right now of the Democratic Party? Have you seen the NBC poll?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it is?
Bad looking. It's 27%.
27%, the lowest since 1990, which is not that something bad happened in 1990. It's just when they started recording that on the NBC poll.
What does Senator Kennedy say, that they're less popular than
chlamydia.
Yeah.
Correct, chlamydia.
What's chlamydia's popularity?
I wouldn't imagine it's 27%. I don't think so, but I do know that Trump's approval rating is 47% right now, and that's actually the highest it's been. Even if you go back to his first term, he had another 47. He's tied at that right now, so he's on the up and up, and Schumer not so much. So Schumer, as I mentioned in the beginning, is on this kind of like tour to justify why he did it. None of the other members, by the way, none of the other senators are being grilled on why they voted, but because he's the minority leader, he takes the flag for it.
He's the leader, but he also kind of flipped his position. So
correct. He came in the beginning saying, "No, I'm not going to do this," and then kind of last minute he went in. Yes.
Does he have an explanation for why he did it?
Yes, he does. His explanation is that right now, the reason why I brought up those approval ratings is Trump is at, he said 48%. He says he's incredibly popular. So his whole thing is to let him do what he does, wait for his approval rating to drop to 40, and then they can hit him where it hurts. They're just waiting on him to do something that gets people angry. That's
old school.
He said it worked in 2017. He thinks it's going to work again. But before I do that, I do want to get some reaction from the media. We have a good friend of the show who has a reaction here. Let's go to that clip.
When he went below 40% in the polls, the Republican legislators started working with us. He was at 51. He's now at 48. We're going to keep at it until he goes below 40. When it happens, I am hopeful that our Republican colleagues will resume working with us. You're going to keep at it. Keep at it. And what? This was it. This was the it that you would have been keeping at. The keeping of the it. It's not the keeping of the it. That's the issue. It's what the it. Don't you have to start it to keep at it? If this wasn't it.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so the reaction there is he didn't keep at it because this was the it. If you didn't get that labored into you by Jon Stewart, that basically he should be resisting from the get-go. And that's kind of in line with what Nancy Pelosi was saying and a lot of other Democrats.
You know what would have happened had they shut down the government? Trump could have declared basically that there was a problem with Congress, put them on recess, forced through all of the nominees he wanted for close to a year for every department, of course, temporary, and then basically brought the government down to base functions and then got everything he wanted effectively. He could then rule by decree almost all he wants.
Steroids
It would have been his dream come. It would have been
declare what's necessary and what's not necessary.
And then he could. If there's a government shutdown, the president has the power to even redirect funding. He could have used funding existing and redirected where it goes. And one other thing, Trump could have used that basically to say, I'm not going to reopen the government again until you sign a bill that gives me literally everything I want. And the government is closed until the Democrats agree to open it based on his terms.
I believe
he would have loved it.
It runs out September 30th. So maybe
hold on. I think we're a little bit off track. I want to pull up something that I saw just the other day. So there was a CNN poll polling their viewers, asking them, who do you think is the leader of the Democrat Party currently? Do you know who the number one person was? Like
either Kamala Harris or AOC.
AOC 10%, Kamala Harris 9%, followed by Bernie Sanders, Hakeem Jeffries, Barack Obama at 4%. So I mean, the highest is AOC at 10%. So what does that mean? Is that like an ascendant socialist wing of the Democratic Party, kind of picking up the pieces while everything is sort of scattered?
Yeah, so that's what, there's a longtime Democrat and a former CIA operations officer named Brian Dean Wright. He wrote about that back in 2018 for Fox News about his own party at the time, talking about the ascendant, even back then, socialist wing of the Democratic Party. So he was citing these archived internal documents of the Democrat Socialists. This is going back to 2012. In which they present their dream of a socialist America and the political path to get there. And so what does this dream look like? They talk about abolishing privately owned businesses from small mom and pop stores to large corporate enterprises. And wealth, they explained, is a social creation and should be controlled by society as a whole.
But who is this? The socialist wing?
The
the
Socialist
squad, basically?
Democrats.
Well, the problem the Democrats have is they're a combination of parties. You have the normal Democrats, and there's the Democratic Socialists of America, which is technically a separate party, but they've united them because they need the votes. And so I would say 10% support does not mean the other, 90% of the Democrats actually support it.
And they have some power as we look at the mayoral race in New York City. So.
Wait, just before we get to that, I think what this whole story tells us is that looking at what happened to Schumer, who had all kinds of power in the party, and how quickly they turned on him, right? Suddenly he's
not on the list.
He's not on the list.
He's not even on the list, I believe. Let me see. Hold on. Oh no, he's 2%. 2% of people think he's the leader of the.
It's like that's the cost of compromise. He wasn't even compromising, but it was perceived as caving or compromising to the Republicans, and he's ousted. Right? He probably would have been one of the leaders. I don't know when the poll came out. But that just shows you how powerful that wing is, because
it also shows that, if the best they have is only 10% support.
Yeah,
it's not very good. They probably need
But
someone.
the main point is the ones that did win, right? Well, the most support. So AOC, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris. They're all known for their very progressive socialist policies. So the fact that they're perceived as what the party should be,
Bernie
there's
Sanders
that
went to
argument that
Moscow
this is
for
what
his
the Democratic Party is
honeymoon.
becoming. As often when we have Democratic strategists on, their advice to their own party is like, you're not what we're supposed to be anymore. That's why we're losing in the elections. That's what their argument is.
However, while they're scrambling, looking for the rudder, conservatives, well, actually, not even, conservatives, I guess, alongside Tesla owners who might not happen to be conservatives, are scrambling to not get beat up, hit, and swatted. Come back after 2 minutes, and Josh will tell us if you are one of the people, I guess, who's about to, get the police knocking on your door. Come back in 2 minutes. By the way, all right, so it's often been said that history repeats itself, or if it doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. So in the late 1880s, there was a war on Tesla in this country, a war on Nikolai Tesla. It was a war that was waged by Thomas Edison, right? We all know about that, the war of the currents, AC versus DC. Thomas Edison really pulled out all the stops against Tesla. Tesla wound up being homeless and just dying, pretty much borderline crazy in New York City in a hotel. You fast forward 130 years, and in 2025, there is a new war on Tesla being waged by far-left activists. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so in the very unfortunate situation many of these people find themselves in right now, they control neither Chamber of Commerce, nor the presidency, nor the Supreme Court, although some may argue otherwise. But right now, they're taking their anger out in other ways, which is taking it out on cars. And you have people who are firebombing Tesla dealerships, lighting electric charging stations on fire, which kind of seems counterintuitive to everything we've been told for the last, 8 years or 9 years, where we were told that electric cars are the future and that anybody who opposes them is basically wanting, the Armageddon to come and boil us all alive with global warming. But seemingly now they hate them. And so people are lighting them on fire, shooting cars, drawing swastikas on them,
eating them. I saw one video. Well, what's funny is Teslas have this 360 camera design. So you're just getting all these videos up online of because every Tesla owner who gets attacked actually has the video of that happening. So one guy I saw, he's just coming up to it. You saw that? The grossest thing I've ever seen. The guy just comes, takes his hand down his underwear and just wipes his I guess he's just walking around with poop in his pants. Anyway,
it's on video. It's horrible.
What's crazy? I don't think I've ever seen.
There was the guy also. Some guy draws a swastika on the car, and it's like a Jewish car owner. You know what I mean? It's like, remember when they were like, "Hey, we found a noose in this guy's garage, and it's the biggest scale in the country." You actually have people doing it now.
So I mean, this is I think the most obvious example I've seen probably in the last 10 years of just the marching orders getting sent out. Because you're just watching the news, and then suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, you have all these seemingly random just people attacking Teslas, seemingly out of nowhere. I mean, what's really going on
With
behind the scenes?
Molotov cocktails.
Well,
Yeah.
so not according to Elon Musk. Elon Musk, he claims in a public post, they've identified, I believe, 5 far left organizations that are funding and organizing this. And he even named a whole bunch of individuals who he says are effectively orchestrating it and funding the organizations that are running it. It's the same list of suspects. It's basically the same organizations that were orchestrating the BLM riots and the pro Gaza protests. It's a lot of the same organizations and the same money sources. The criticism they had against Musk is he didn't really show the evidence proving it. Although people have done some additional research and they have alleged. But the big point now is that Pam Bondi, Attorney General, she's come out and she's said in a public statement they're going to investigate this as terrorism.
It is terrorism.
Yeah, they arrested 3 people now so far. And in her statement as well, she says they're also going to be investigating, maybe even as terrorists, the funding and the organizers. And so I don't know. Basically, we've been watching these organizations do things like this since 2015, and nothing has ever happened. So maybe it's actually coming down on them now.
But is it really funded? Like the guy walking and he decides to smear his poop on the car. Like, is he getting funded, or is that just like his own psychosis?
The allegation is that the initial protest started as the Occupy the Tesla dealerships protest. It was basically people going in there and just sitting down and locking them down. And then you actually do have public posts from Antifa telling people to go firebomb locations, saying they're going to do it. They just literally write it on their websites. And then you have this other organization that has doxed every Tesla owner, published the locations of every Tesla car, released the addresses, names, and phone numbers of every Tesla owner. And the cursor is a Molotov cocktail.
And saying you can get off the list if you provide proof that you sold your Tesla.
Right.
But here's my question. Obviously, they're trying to tank, Tesla as a company, right? Bring the stocks down. Elon Musk owns 12.8% of those stocks. Who do you think owns the rest?
Well, the irony is, I don't know.
Probably Democrat Party supporters.
State of Minnesota owns a lot, actually.
Oh.
Who does?
State of Minnesota.
They're in for it now. I know one conservative who owns a Tesla, and he only owns it because he used to work for Tesla. That's it. And he owns another car in addition to that, and he drives that one more than the Tesla.
Well, it's probably changed since President Trump at the White House with Teslas. So
AOC used to drive a Tesla.
Right.
Dude.
Well, one of the things that really kind of sticks out to me, at least, regarding this whole anti-Tesla domestic terrorism, I think that's the only way you can really call it, is the mainstream left response. Because obviously the people actually enacting the violence, they're on the fringe of the political ideology. You have to be on the fringe to do that. But then sort of the mainstream left seems to be perfectly okay with it. We have a clip from The Daily Show. So this is a clip where The Daily Show host, not Jon Stewart, another guy, he's just showing clips, news clips of several Tesla dealerships getting firebombed, and just take a look at the response from the audience.
Tonight, the FBI and ATF now investigating multiple cases of possible arson targeting Teslas and Cybertrucks.
This dramatic video shows multiple cars in flames. Police say the attacker used Molotov cocktails. It's the latest in more than a dozen instances of arson and vandalism targeting Tesla.
The same suspect shot more Teslas with a gun. Tesla Cybertrucks were set on fire in Kansas City, and earlier this month, shots fired at a Tesla dealership in Oregon. Cybertrucks on fire in Seattle.
Wow, you guys like petty acts of domestic terrorism, huh? Wow. Okay, let me just say, nobody should be breaking the law and blowing up Teslas.
But those hosts are actors. I could see it being either way. I could see it being either way.
Okay. I guess I can see that either way. But
But on that point, Tim Walz gave a big speech, former vice presidential candidate, and he also was talking about this. Ironically, Minnesota. It's unfortunate for them, I guess.
Amy Klobuchar must be somebody she has, right?
But he's talking about Tesla, and he's basically saying if he wants to feel happy, he looks at their stocks.
I look at the stocks. Every time I see a firebomb, I look at the stocks, and it makes me happy because it goes down.
Yeah,
it's what the heck is going on here?
And people are cheering and laughing for that. So obviously there is some grassroots support for it.
Yeah, it just seems like. I mean, I guess it's already too many years past to say that it's hypocritical for the same people to like, you know, say one thing about the right and then basically like laud political violence. Speaking of political violence, so the Tesla, the attacks on Tesla is one side of it, which again, just to me is so crazy because most Tesla owners, I would imagine, are not conservatives, but that's another thing. But against actual conservatives, there's been a wave of swatting. I guess what do you call them, like hits, attempts. Can you explain what swatting is and what's happening with that, Josh?
So basically, imagine you're at home, you're watching TV on the computer, maybe sleeping, usually sleep because I think people tend to do it this time. And suddenly, you know, you look outside your door and you see a silhouette of a guy armed with a big long gun, you know, rifle, and in body armor. Maybe you see a few of them and they're trying to break into your house. Now, what do you do in that situation? You have some people actually who've been victims of this. They grab a gun themselves and they aim it at the guy and say, you know, identify yourselves. And then you find out it's police showing up at your door. There was a video of this. I mean, some terrible stuff where, you know, one of these individuals who's the victim of it said it could have ended very badly had it not been for very good trigger discipline on both sides of this confrontation. You had another video recently, Owen Schroyer from InfoWars. He was swatted. And, I mean, you see him. They're like, you know, put your phone down because he was reporting it. And they're like, take your shirt off, turn around, 360, listen to my voice, walk backwards. And, I mean, you got to think, imagine you've been sitting at your house and maybe, I don't know, someone's had a few drinks or maybe they don't hear very well and you misfollow the orders. You know, it can go south very quick. And so what's happening basically is people are using this. They call the police. They say, hey, there's a hostage situation. There's a, you know, active shooter incident taking place at this address. We need the police there immediately. The police, if there's an active shooter or something like this, not all the time, but if there's a hostage situation like this, they do have to send SWAT teams, special weapons team. And they go their special weapons tactics ready basically to, you know, have a gunfight with somebody who's in the process of killing people.
This was popular like with Twitch streamers because they would get the instant reaction. They would see it live. Like some guy would be live streaming, doing a video game or something like that, or talking in front of the camera, and all of a sudden you would see the door bust open and somebody would be carrying that gun that you just said in full gear, making them, you know, surrender everything and, you know, go against a wall. But now they're going after right-wing media personalities.
Yeah. So Kash Patel, FBI director, he addressed this publicly. He said they're going to start going after it. He's saying, you know, these things can turn south very quick. It puts the officers' lives in danger. Not even just the target, but also, especially if you're going after conservative influencers. You know what I mean? A lot of them have guns, right? It can go south either way. And so Kash Patel is saying they will be investigating this. They're looking into it. The FCC chair, Brendan Carr, came out publicly. He also said that he's now going to be offering different police departments the kind of traceable phone calls. I don't know, I guess they have that technology, but allowing them to know from where the calls are coming from so they can actually go arrest the people making these calls. And the police association, one of them, there's a few of them, one of them came out and they're saying that basically giving a warning to the people who may become victims of this. I guess if you're a conservative journalist or, you know, influencer, they're advising you to call up your local police department, give them your name, tell them that you believe you may possibly be a victim of this chain of, you know, attacks effectively. And that way they can call you if they get a SWAT call to your house.
Is there any have you seen anything about like coordination of like different groups trying to get conservatives swatted or anything like that? Like, are they coming from the United States? Are they coming from other countries? Where are these calls being placed?
I mean, I was actually thinking that too, because this would be a really effective way for, you know, people in other countries to do it. Because what are they going to do to you? Nothing. There's no punishment for it. Which is actually a very good argument on why they should really take this seriously. Because if like China or people in Russia, where we have no extradition treaties, decide to do this every day of the week against people they don't like, it's a really easy way to export like persecution. It's very easy for them to do.
All right, well, listen, if anyone's watching this and they're interested in where Joshua lives, I actually know his address. Text me. I'll just for information's sake, I'm willing to share it. Just joking. Thank you so much for joining us for Prime Time today. Have a great week. I hope you enjoy time with your family. Don't take the news too seriously. It's never that important. What's most important is the relationships with you your family, your neighbors, your community. Cultivate those, and I think everything else will go in the right direction. Take care, and see you next week, Friday.